parade, which this year is in honor of the fact that it was 200 years ago, on July 4th, the first spade of earth was turned on the Erie Canal. As you may or may not know, the Erie Canal was the most important project of the 19th century in the United States and possibly the world. And it really built New York City and the state of New York. It's an amazing story as to how the voters of 1817 in New York State would agree that they would elect the candidate, Rick Clinton, who was pledged to building a 362-mile canal, the longest canal in the world at the time. Was only 160 miles. And when Thomas Jefferson said it was the craziest thing he'd ever heard, and it was madness, and President Madison had vetoed it on the basis that it would bankrupt the United States. But we here in New York decided that we would go forward. And so by 1825, the Great Canal was opened, and it's because of that canal we stand here on Wall Street as the center of the international capital of the world. In any event, out on the steps, we're supposed to meet President Brewer out there. We have two marching bands. We're going to march through Lower Manhattan, down Broad Street to Pearl Street, across Pearl Street, back up here to Wall Street, where we've got a great musical combo, Jonathan Brooks and the Hudson River Ramblers. We're going to have a concert about half an hour on the building of the Erie Canal. So I urge you to join us, walk with us. See, Ross, there are other people who will be walking with us, hopefully. Hopefully people will pick up on the street. Thank you.
Jim Kaplan talked about the Erie Canal, but we can also just as easily talk about the ways in which this part of Manhattan, on all parts, has been historically kept and needs to continue to be maintained. So I am a big preservationist. I look forward to working with all of you, tourists and New Yorkers alike, to continue the efforts that we are making to make sure that Lower Manhattan is celebrated for its history and for preserving its history and for figuring out how we maintain it. I want to thank the federal government because Federal Hall is opened up. It gives us a place to celebrate in, and it keeps the tradition going of revering everything that we're celebrating in Lower Manhattan. So again, thank you. Enjoy the 4th of July, but don't forget it's not just fireworks, it's also a celebration of our history in perhaps the greatest state of all of them, New York, and obviously I am partial to the borough of Manhattan. Thank you very much, and enjoy the parade, but don't forget all the work we have to do, building infrastructure, maintaining infrastructure, and keeping our history alive for New Yorkers and everyone into the future. Thank you very much. It's a very special day. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Borough President Brewer, who was one of our great supporters. And I'm now going to talk about the Erie Canal was supposed one of the most amazing and crazy ideas in history. The idea was started in 1807 by a guy named Jesse Hawley in Debtor's Prison, that the state of New York could build a canal all the way across from Albany to Buffalo. Thomas Jefferson thought such an idea could never happen. President Madison vetoed it on the basis that it would bankrupt the United States. But it was at a meeting up on 115 Broadway, about 3 or 4 blocks from here, that an out-of-power politician named DeWitt Clinton urged the people that they should held a meeting to see if we could promote the idea that the state of New York, on its own, would be able to build a canal from here to Buffalo. Now I've asked DeWitt Clinton to come back after 200 years to say what he said, and here he is.
Arguably be considered one of the greatest wonders of the world. And this is an excerpt that I compiled from that memorial. To the legislature of the state of New York, the memorial of the subscriber is in favor of a canal navigation between the Great Western Lakes and the tidewaters of the Hudson most respectfully represents that they approach the legislature with a solicitude proportioned to the importance of this great undertaking and with a confidence founded on the enlightened public spirit of the constituted authorities. Connected as it is with the essential interests of our country and calculated in its commencement to reflect honor on the state and in its completion to exalt it to an elevation of unparalleled prosperity, your memorialists are fully persuaded that centuries may pass away before a subject is again presented so worthy of all your attention. The prosperity of ancient Egypt and China may in a great degree be attributed to their inland navigation, and England and Holland, the most commercial nations of modern times, deprived of their canals, would lose the most prolific source of their prosperity and greatness. Inland navigation is, in fact, to the same community what exterior navigation is to the great family of mankind. The general arguments in favor of inland navigation apply with peculiar force to the United States and most emphatically to this state. A geographical view of the country will at once demonstrate the unexampled prosperity that will arise from our cultivating the advantages which nature has dispensed with so liberal a hand. While we do not pretend that all the trade of our Western world will center in on any given place, nor would it be desirable if it were practicable, because we sincerely wish the prosperity of all the states, yet we contend that our natural advantages are so transcendent that it is on our power to obtain the greater part and put successful competition at defiance as all the other communications are impeded by mountains. The navigation from Lake Erie to Albany can be completed in 10 days with perfect safety on the canal, and from Albany to New York, there is the best sloop navigation in the entire world. Villages, towns, and cities will line the banks of the canal and the shores of the Hudson from Erie to New York. The wilderness and the solitary place will become glad, and the desert will rejoice and blossom as the rose. Mr. William Weston, one of the most celebrated civil engineers in Europe, who has superintended canals in this state and Pennsylvania, and who is perfectly well acquainted with the country, has thus expressed his opinion on this subject, and I quote, "Should your noble but stupendous plan of uniting Lake Erie with the Hudson be carried into effect, you have to fear no rivalry. The commerce of the immense extent of country bordering on the upper lakes is yours forever, and to such an incalculable amount as would baffle all conjecture to conceive. Its execution would confer immortal honor on the projectors and supporters, and would in its eventual consequences render New York the greatest commercial emporium in the world. Delays are the refuge of weak minds, and to procrastinate on this occasion is to show a culpable inattention to the bounties of nature, a total insensibility to the blessings of Providence, and an inexcusable neglect of the interests of society. The overflowing blessings from this great fountain of public good and national abundance will be as extensive as our country and as durable as time. Lastly, it may be confidently asserted that this canal, as to the extent of its route, as to the countries which it connects, as to the consequences which it will produce, is without a parallel in the history of mankind. The union of the Baltic and the Euxine, of the Red Sea and the Mediterranean, of the Euxine and the Caspian, and of the Mediterranean and the Atlantic has been projected or executed by the chiefs of powerful monarchies. And the splendor of the design has always attracted the admiration of the world. It remains for a free state to create a new era in history and to erect a work more stupendous, more magnificent, and more beneficial than has hitherto been achieved by the human race. Character is as important to nations as individuals, and the glory of a republic founded on the proportion of the general good is the common property of all citizens.
Okay, and after that, the people voted for Rick Clinton, and now we're going to join the parade. So walk with us down Broad Street to the parade. Thank you.
Greetings, felicitations.
Bells, bonfires, and illuminations!
Truck, who played in our 2015 parade, and Rich Mal of the Ramblers. All right.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you,
for
everyone.
watching.
Thank you.
Indeed, we are the Hudson River Ramblers, rambling from Lake Tier of the Clouds to Lower Manhattan to tell tales and sing songs of our glorious past that we may better remember it and better go on into the future here. And Rich has got a little song to start us off.
Yeah, we're gonna do probably the most familiar song, or one of the two most familiar songs about the Erie Canal. Most of us know only two verses, but in honor of the beginning of construction of the Erie Canal 200 years ago, we're going to try something that we've never tried before. We're going to try to do the complete, unabridged 5 verses of Low Bridge, Everybody Down, also known as I've Got a Mule and Her Name is Sal, the unofficial, official song of the Erie Canal. And if you know any of the words, please join in with us. And here we go. I got a mule and her name is Sal, 15 years on the Erie Canal. She's a good old worker, good old pal, 15 years on the Erie Canal. We've hauled some barges in our day, filled with lumber, coal and hay. We know every inch of the way, from Albany to Buffalo. Low Bridge, everybody down, Low Bridge, for we're coming to a town. Well, you'll always know your neighbor, you'll always know your pal, if you've ever navigated on the Erie Canal. Well, you bet your life I never part with Sal, 15 years on the Erie Canal. She's a good old worker, my darn fool Sal, 15 years on the Erie Canal. Well, let's go, gal, get past that lock. We'll make Rome by 6 o'clock. And one more trip, then it's back we go, right straight back to Buffalo. Low Bridge, everybody down, Low Bridge, for we're coming to a town. If you're looking for some trouble, better stay away from Sal. She's the only fighting donkey on the Erie Canal.
It was an engineering marvel, and it was started 200 years ago, 2 days from today, up in Rome, New York, with a great groundbreaking. But my friends, the money was difficult. It was decided it was too big to be a private enterprise. Plus, they wanted everyone to profit, not just a handful, but everyone in the great state of New York and in the United States as well. And thus, spearheaded by DeWitt Clinton, it passed through the legislature. But it took something rarely seen these days, and that was bipartisan cooperation. And thus the Federalists, and that was the party of DeWitt Clinton and Alexander Hamilton and John Adams, got together with the Democratic Republicans. Together, they created a commission and raised over a period of 7 years, $7 million. You could add another 0 to that to get an understanding of how much it cost. But after about 30, 40 years, it more than 10 times paid the Empire State back once it had been established. Now, of course, it did bring some woe to DeWitt Clinton. Why, right here, folks from Tammany Hall decided they wanted to get in on the action, and thus they stuck their own commissioners on the board and overruled DeWitt Clinton, got him booted out of the governorship. But people were so impressed with the efforts made by DeWitt Clinton to establish the Erie Canal, that 2 years later, in 1824, he was re-elected governor of the great state of New York and saw through to completion the building of the Erie Canal, 363 miles, over 200 locks, taking people from 600 feet of elevation to bring goods from the Midwest through to the Hudson River and on to New York and out to the world. And my friends, speaking of the world, what better way to sum up the way in which the world felt about the Erie Canal than to bring another live song from the period by Rich Balla, the singing half of the Hudson River Ramblers. Here's Rich.
Well, as I mentioned with the opening song that we did, that low bridge, everybody down, or I've got a mule and her name is Sal, that's probably one of two of the most well-known songs about the Erie Canal. And I'm going to do the other song that is probably the most familiar. And it's got a real nice, easy chorus you can sing along on. It's called The Erie Was A-Risin'. Yeah, and in case you're not familiar with how it goes, real easy. Chorus goes like this. Starts out with, oh, oh, the Erie was a-risin' and the gin was a-getting low. Different key. Oh, the Erie was rising and the gin was a-getting low. And I scarcely think we'll get a little drink till we get to Buffalo. Till we get to Buffalo. Okay, that's your part if you want to join in. We were 40 miles from Albany. Forget it, I never shall. What a terrible storm we had that night on the Erie Canal. Oh, the Erie was a-rising and the gin was a-getting low. And I scarcely think we'll get a little drink till we get to Buffalo. Till we get to Buffalo. We were loaded down with barley. We were chocked up full of rye. And the captain, he looked down on us with his awful wicked eye. Oh, the Erie was rising and the gin was a-getting low. And I scarcely think we'll get a little drink till we get to Buffalo. Till we get to Buffalo. Our cook, she was a grand old gal. She wore a ragged dress. We hoisted her upon the mast as a signal of distress. Oh, the Erie was rising and the gin was a-getting low. And I scarcely think we'll get a little drink till we get to Buffalo. Till we get to Buffalo. Here's a little thing about some of the mules that you find pulling the barges on the canal. Our Nell's got the blind staggers, and Maud has got the heaves, and Tom has thrown his off-shoe, and our driver's got the weaves. Oh, the Erie was rising, and the gin was getting low, and I scarcely think we'll get a drink till we get to Buffalo. Till we get to Buffalo. 2 days out from Syracuse, the vessel struck a shoal, and we like to all have been floundered on a chunk of Lackawanna coal. Hold it now, I hollered to the driver on the towpad treading third. He jumped aboard and stopped the leak with his old red flannel shirt. Oh, the Erie was rising and the gin was getting low. And I scarcely think we'll get a drink till we get to Buffalo. Till we get to Buffalo. Last verse. Well, our captain, he got married, and our cook, she went to jail. And I'm the only son of a
cook left to tell the tale once more. Oh, the Erie was rising, and the gin was getting low. And I scarcely think we'll get a little drink till we get to Buffalo. Till we get to Buffalo.
Well, thanks much for the Hudson River Ramblers. Jonathan Kruk, that was Rich Ballard. Now you heard in that song, low bridge, everybody down. Now why did they build those bridges low? Of course, the locks were about 40 feet wide, maybe 100 feet long or so. The water was only 4 feet deep. And the barges got pulled along by, well, mules like Sal. And folks were crowded down below, passengers on beds that folded out like shelves, with a whole collection of baggage and luggage and clothes hung out. And people would come up onto the decks and maybe they'd drink a little gin and sing a few songs, for the mule would clip and clop along at a slow, leisurely pace. But still, it used to take a barrel of flour to go from Buffalo to Albany 1 month. The Erie Canal cut it down to 1 week, and that made all the difference 200 years ago. But of course, to save money, that's $7 million, they had to build not only a series of aqueducts to cross over the various rivers that the canal passed, but when there were bridges as they went through town, they had to duck down. It was only about 4 feet, and gentlemen like me with tall hats, whoop, sometimes got knocked over and ended up in the drink. But it was only, of course, 4 feet deep. Now, not everyone was completely enamored with the Erie Canal. Take, for example, the fine writer Nathaniel Hawthorne. He described the Erie Canal as an interminable mud puddle. Now once, when he was on one of the barges, the rope got tangled, and they had to stop, get out, detangle it, get a new rope, and it was taking so long, Nathaniel Hawthorne said, be easier just to walk into Syracuse than to hang out on this barge. And he said when he got out of the barge, there was nothing more pleasant than strolling along a path without mosquitoes, without the braying of the donkey, without the cursing of the cook, and the swearing of the captain on board. He wasn't the only writer to be, perhaps impressed, I should say, by the Erie Canal. Mark Twain decided that, well, traveling on the Erie Canal was a bit too leisurely. And so, he decided to concoct a story of a packet boat being pulled along and the mast getting tangled up on one of those low bridges and the entire operation toppling over into one of the canals, and people and flour and gin all spilling into the waterway there, and people jumping up and pointing fingers and accusing one of this and one of that and causing the accident, and oh, what a ruckus, what a fuss, he described. But of course, the canal barges had no masts, no need for it, maybe to run up a few little little flags if you like, but in the eyes of Mark Twain, the Erie Canal needed to raise consciousness. Now, the canal did just that. It not only made New York the Empire State, but it truly lifted consciousness. Why, by the time the canal was in full swing in the 1820s and 30s and 40s, people were going to see what that part of New York State looked like. They were starting communes where they shared everything, even husbands and wives. And among those to be inspired by a trip along the Erie Canal was none other than Joseph Smith, the founder of the Mormon faith. Yes, indeed, he found traveling out west along the canal opened up the Great Spirit to him, and he said his journey along the Erie Canal made him open to receiving a message from the prophet Moroni, the great angel who brought Mormonism to the United States. And many others were also influenced by the expansiveness of the Erie Canal. Now, speaking of expansiveness, Rich is going to expand your consciousness and your voices with another Erie Canal song, and then I'll wrap up with a final tale about that great canal.
Well, you know, they used mule power on the Erie Canal. They used mules to... Well, you know, I'm going to... This is going to be my last song, then Jonathan's going to tell a little story. So I'm going to do a song that was inspired by the Erie Canal. You know, when the Erie Canal opened in 1825, there were a lot of minstrel shows that used the canal as a transportation corridor. And minstrel shows were the entertainment standard of the day. And many songs sprang up along the canal. And I'm sure you know the song Buffalo Gals. When I first heard the song when I was a young boy, I didn't really know what they meant by Buffalo Gals. I thought, do these gals have horns on her head, or do they have, you know, thick, bushy fur all over them? But it actually refers to the city of Buffalo. And what they would do, the minstrel shows, as they went from town to town, they would just change the name of the town. So, as we know, the song is Buffalo Gals. If they were in Syracuse, they'd sing Syracuse Gals. If they were in Troy, they would sing Troy Gals. And since we're in New York City today, I thought it would be rather clever and catchy to sing New York Gals. And the chorus goes like this. New York gals, won't you come out tonight? Come out tonight, come out tonight. New York gals, won't you come out tonight and dance by the light of the moon?
You can do that.
Yeah, try it with us. Here we go. New York girls, won't you come out tonight? Come out tonight, come out tonight. Oh, New York gals, won't you come out tonight and dance by the light of the moon? As I was walking down the street, down the street, down the street, a pretty little girl I chanced to meet, and she was fair to see. Oh, the Buffalo Gals, won't you come out tonight? Come out tonight, come out tonight. Oh, the Buffalo Gals, won't you come out tonight and dance by the light of the moon? I asked her if she'd stop and talk, stop and talk, stop and talk. Her feet covered up the whole sidewalk and left no room for me. Oh, New York gals, won't you come out tonight? Come out tonight, come out tonight. Oh, New York gals, won't you come out tonight and dance by the light of the moon? I asked her if she'd stop and dance, stop and dance, stop and dance. I thought that it might give me a chance to shake a foot with her. Oh, New York gals, won't you come out tonight? Come out tonight, come out tonight. Oh, New York gals, won't you come out tonight and dance by the light of the moon? I asked her if she'd be my wife, be my wife, be my wife. Then I'd be so happy all my life if she were by my side. Oh, New York gals, won't you come out tonight? Come out tonight, come out tonight. Oh, New York gals, won't you come out tonight and dance by the light of the moon? I danced with a girl with a hole in her stocking, and her heel kept a knocking, and her toe kept a rocking. Danced with a girl with a hole in her stocking, and we danced by the light of the moon. One last time now. Oh, New York gals, won't you come out tonight? Come out tonight, come out tonight. Oh, New York gals, won't you come out tonight and dance by the light of the moon? Thank you.
Once upon a time in July of 1776, not far from where we stand, George Washington here ordered a reading of the Declaration of Independence. Thousands of troops and passerbys listened with great interest in why these 13 colonies declared themselves independent. Well, it sparked a riot, again not too far from here, where another George stood as a statue. Folks assembled, the likes of Isaac Sears and Alexander McDougall, and they tore down that George who stood at number 2 Broadway. Of course, he was made of lead, and they tore apart the lead pieces of King George III. Well, a resourceful fellow passing by gathered up the remains of that statue, brought it up to Connecticut, and had his children, a boy 9 and a girl 11, with their friends, melt the lead down and had it turned into bullets to be used to help bring about the new liberty and independence of this new nation. Well, that George Washington looked ahead and had formed a company which hoped to help build the Erie Canal. But again, DeWitt Clinton and the New York State Legislature decided it would be best a project this size if it was done for the public and not just for private interest. And though Washington kind of lost out, in the end, the canal helped fulfill the dream that he fought for and was inaugurated here on these steps in 1889. That Erie Canal not only stretched and connected Lake Erie to the Hudson River, but it, like two hands, like a great chain, like a lock of arms, created a bond across this country. Because people from New England, who found that the soil was, well, 2 parts rock, 1 part dirt, began to use the canal to travel into the now open Ohio Valley and beyond. So the canal across the Empire State expanded this new nation and helped create liberty and enterprise and, above all, happiness for all. And my friends, here we celebrate Independence Day, acknowledging the 200th anniversary of the Erie Canal and the anniversary of this nation. So let's all continue to fight and protect and to cherish and to uphold our liberty and our independence by doing things like we've done here, remembering a touch of our history on Independence Day and on the couple days before the 200th anniversary of New York's own Erie Canal. Everyone, thanks much. I'm Jonathan Krupp, the storytelling half of the Hudson River Amblers. This is Rich Balla.
Thank you all for coming out and listening today. Happy 4th of July.
Happy 4th of July. You can come and say hello if you like to. Thanks again. And we're very appreciative to the Downtown Business Alliance who made it possible for us to be here today. And so thanks to them for bringing us all together here. All right, happy Independence Day. Thank you.